Okay, so welcome everybody. It's JSauce back here with another video, and as you see, this isn't just your standard draft video that I'd make. This isn't a battle. This is Season 9 Sinnoh Division Power Rankings for NPBA, one of my favorite servers out there, but you'd be messed up if you think I was doing this alone. I have the guy, the Don, Mr. Sam Sturgeonator here with me. Round of applause.
It's me. Hello, everyone. Sam Sturgeon coming at you, also known as the LeBron James to J Sauce's D Wade.
I'd be throwing oops and shit.
Mhm.
So yeah, it'd be cool if you guys like, subscribed, and commented on this video. You could subscribe to both of us. I mean, our channels are right there. Username and handle. You just gotta click that thumbs up button. Comment your opinion because I'd love to hear it. And if you guys are
Very
watching
true.
this, and you're an actual coach, my DMs are always open for love or for hate. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, feel free to hate.
yeah, feel free to hate.
We're
Hate
gonna be busting
on.
out some spicy takes. Yeah.
So Sam, what are these PRs based on?
Yeah. So we got a lot of criteria, a lot of different things make for strong teams, weak teams. There's so many factors to go over. Some of the most important ones, speed tiers. Are you making very relevant speed tiers of other teams hit certain numbers? Your defensive or offensive cores. Well, you can maybe have a strong Firewater Grass core. You got to have a good Fairy Dragon Steel core these days. If you don't, you got to have a really good reason why you don't. Maybe you have some strong abilities to help cover for a missing type. Maybe a thick fat if you don't have a strong bulky water, for example. Um, General synergies. JSauce, talk about general synergies for a bit and what we mean by that.
Yeah, so the synergy I am going to name does tie into hazard and hazard control removal, but if you guys have played Gen 9, especially after uh, the DLC dropped, Gliscor and Golden Go is one of the best two mon synergies I've ever seen. Just two mons that could pair really well together. You get like an Urshifu, 4 times weak to fairy, and if you get a really good steel type or poison type to kill those fairies for Urshifu late game, the synergies can be based off what the mons do, the typings, as well as just a bunch of other different factors.
Yep. Other than that, we just have the standard hazards and hazard removal or control important on every team. I think that hazard removal is a little overrated these days. I think as long as you have one decent one, you'll be fine. Let's see. Momentum. Momentum's always been important. Alt switch, flip turn, U-turn, even memento. Just anything that's going to get you in the right position when you need it.
Yes.
Any other useful support moves? We're going to have a little thing on the bottom right with all the big support moves that you can have in draft. And then maybe our two most important things are a valuable Terra Captain and just a strong overall power level. Talk a bit about that.
Yeah, so just a disclaimer out there in case you don't know or forgot. The Terror Captain rules are two Terror Captains, which is cringe. It should have been two or three, but 15
Hmm.
points max, or 10 points max per Mon, but they have to add up to 15. So you're looking at a 10 and 5, a 9 and 6, a 7 and 8. You don't have to use all of your points. But yeah, Terror Captains are super important. It's one of those mechanics where one turn can completely flip a game. I've seen it multiple times, whether Mon defensively terras to set up like a Terra Steel Salamence, which obviously isn't allowed, but just stuff like that. Think Mons can offensively Terra, defensively Terra, and I think the things that are going to separate the good teams from the bad teams this season is going to be those Terra captains, and then the overall power level. Um, if you have a team and nothing strikes fear into my heart, or you don't have a mod that I have to extensively prep for, it's going to be way easier than a team that puts on incredible pressure, makes your life hell to prep for. And while there isn't a huge power gap, like not astronomical between top and bottom, there are points where you see drafts and you can tell that one draft is more powerful than another.
And then 3 minutes per team. We don't want to make this a 2 hour video. So sorry if you aren't satisfied with how fast the review was. If you're reading this and you are a coach and you want more than the 3 minutes we're providing, please DM either of us and we'll go into further depth on what we think about your draft. Maybe some changes if we didn't like it so much. We can
Yeah,
toss those out as well.
the 3 minutes there is because breaking the fourth wall a bit. Sam and I decided to try to do this last night, and we recorded an hour and 45 minutes, and none of it saved. And I
Ooh.
praying we got it figured out. I'm fairly certain we did, but we both don't feel like doing that again. So 3 minutes per team is gonna be around an hour with the beginning and the end, and that's what I've seen a lot of power rankings around time wise. So I think it'll be pretty good.
Yeah.
You want to
All
move
right,
on to
well,
the
let's
first team?
yeah, we're gonna get into it.
Yeah.
Sorry, at
So
last place,
yeah. So we're
whoever this
starting.
coach is.
We're starting
Yeah.
bottom to. We're going bottom to top to build up suspense. So yeah,
Yeah.
the first team. Sam, do you want to talk about this one first?
Yeah, we got Paradox, Medicare, sick name, coach, Dr. Felix. Our main problem with this draft, I think, is just the overall power level of the team. It doesn't strike a lot of fear into my heart. I am not sure about these top three, the Grimmsnarl, Darmanitan, and Cyclizar, although I will say I love the synergy between Cyclizar and Mega Beedrill. They're going to go hard together. And then I think JSauce can talk a bit about this. The biggest downfall of this team were its two Terra captains.
Yeah, so I feel like it was more of a drafting problem because first off, there's not really many Mons below 10 on this roster. It's or 10 or below. It's Quagsire, it's Bombardier, and it's Weezingowler, and an Abra. But I feel like of those three, Weezing arguably likes its type the most. Um, just because having a poison and a fairy is so important because Grimmsnarl being the only fairy is kind of shaky. Um, and then there's an Abra that, while it is one of the more, this is going to sound funny, it is one of the more usable one pointers because it's got, what's that? 105, 90 attack and speed. It's not
Yeah,
coming enough to be viable. I'm fairly certain you could have ran Quagsire Bombardier. Like I'm almost 100% that would have worked.
yeah.
It would have
I
been
mean, this thing
astronomically
also could have
better.
been a Pikachu if you needed a one pointer.
No, I think Pikachu was 3 this season. Honestly,
Oh, it was three. Okay, never
yeah,
mind.
yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah,
I want to say Kadabra is 1 point. To be honest, it's literally just better Abra.
that's impossible. Really? That's
I,
crazy.
I'm not sure, but if it is,
I think
then
it must have been two or three. It must have
it
been two.
had to be, had to be, had to be. But yeah, other than that, the top. I think touching on the top, honestly, the top five picks. It's if I had to bet, it's something that I've seen more common in tier drafts where you draft the mons you like first from lower tiers so they can't get sniped, and then you have top tiers left on the board for later rounds when no one else can get them because of the point total. I don't think it works in points, and because it leaves a team like this where it's not very powerful, your main offensive breakers, Darmanitan and Beedrill, they're both weak to rocks, and you have Cyclizar to remove rocks, and I guess Wheezing. Like,
Yeah.
there's just too many
Cyclozar is
holes
way
in
too
this team.
pressured.
Yeah,
It's yeah.
I feel like there's just
Cyclozar has
too
to do
many
too much.
holes with not
Hmm?
enough power to justify it.
I think we can move on.
Yep, it's been about 3 minutes. So you want to talk about this team?
Oh, it's so goaded. So we got the first five pick Reggies, all five of them. It's so funny. And then we have Zoroark Kasui cosplaying as the seventh Reggie. Oh, it's just perfect. Other than that, we have a Buzzwole. Kind of makes sense. We've got a couple Mons that resist flying here. And
Like,
he fulfills a decent role in the team as a physical attacker and breaker. We have a random Starmie, decent hazard removal, solid speed tier. It's okay. We have a Landorus Therian. You all know how good a Pokemon that is. And then Mega Venusaur, my goat. It's just so strong in general. It's a really good Mega. And the power level of this draft is kind of hard to examine. What do you think, J Sauce?
So yeah, so I mean, if you take a look at that bottom down the middle, you'll see that the average stats are probably one of the actual highest in this entire video. Uh, but I don't know. I don't like any of the first three Reggies, especially without Terra. I'm not sure if Registeel was able to Terra. I feel like it was, but Regice and Regirock are just the best two to Terra. I like what he did outside of the actual Reggies, though. Zoroark is funny, and it's actually kind of good because 2/3 of the Reggies, 4/6 technically, are weak to
Mm.
fighting. And then Buzz will make sense because most of the Reggies are weak or resist flying. And then same deal with Lando. Most of the Reggies resist ice. And then Mega Venusaur is just there. It's as big as a Reggie, but it's just not
Yeah.
exactly. Then there's a random ass Starmie, which I mean
Yeah, the random
you
Starmie.
wanted a water type, you want removal, but Starmie is just not bulky enough. You also need another fast Pokemon, so it's like you had to decide whether you want a fast water or um, a slower, bulkier water, but that also has removal, like a Mantine, like I don't even know what else off the top of my head, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's fine. Really, I don't love like I feel like your special attackers like Regieleki, no Terra, I hate. Starmie is fine, Zoroark fine, but then your stuff like Lando, Regidrago, even and Mega Venusaur might not love to run investment every week, and then the speed is just all right.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
other than Regieleki, it's Starmie as your fastest, which is like fine, but it's not bringable every game.
Yeah, I mean it's an all Reggie draft.
Yeah,
And I respect it, and I hope Vox wins the entire thing, because that would be freaking hilarious.
me too. I do think it is a well constructed draft to build around the
Or
Reggies.
a Yeah, if you're gonna draft all six Reggies, this was a fun way to do it. And there's some decent support mons here that like the Reggies. So
All right, next up. All right, next up we have the Kyoto Koraidons and Coach Arian. And this is the Mono Stealth Rock Week team that
yeah.
has no removal.
This team is actually mono lose to rocks. Forget what I said about not having a remover. This team both doesn't have a remover and has a million mons that die to stealth rocks, which is perplexing to me.
Oh, not even that.
Yeah,
There's this cool new item that's not even new. It's called Rocky Helmet. And tell me a Mon
yeah,
that doesn't die to Rocky Helmet after like two hits.
yeah. This team is mono lose to stealth rocks, mono lose to rocky helmet, and mono lose to rock moves. So Walter White is feasting against this team. Um, yeah,
Another thing that's just bothering me, like I see a Mega Mawa, I see a Roaring Moon. Obviously, there's a Darm and a Urshifu, which are real expensive. But then I just keep going down the line, and then he just runs out of points somehow. I feel like you don't even get that good
yeah,
of Mons or build an actual team with those points. It's just like they
yeah.
kind of just disappeared.
This team feels like it was like a 100 point draft.
Yes, it does.
Uh,
It does.
Yeah, I think part of that is because there's a lot of overpriced Pokemon here that are more
Hmm.
expensive than they should be, in my opinion. I love Terra Yen Mega, but here's the thing about Terra Yen Mega, it really hates rocks being on the field because this is a Pokemon that doesn't want to run heavy duty boots. There's a lot of quad weak to rocks Pokemon, like Talonflame, Moltres, Ho-Oh, if you're playing Uber's League, that don't mind heavy duty boots at all, and are like these strong, supportive, kind of interesting Pokemon. Yeah, Mega just wants to boom stuff,
It
and it
does.
doesn't want to wear boots when it's booming stuff.
It does. I don't know if it's available, but I would love to see a Quack instead of an Urshifu Rapid. Very similar mods.
Hmm.
It's only one less point, but it does have momentum and removal and
Yep.
good coverage.
Oh,
But yeah, let's talk about the actual other stuff. In terms of hazards that aren't stealth rocks, it's Nido Queen putting up toxic spikes. Uh, no spikers, no other
um,
real hazards. And I mean, to be honest, Mega Mawile and even Chansey to some degree don't want to run rocks every week, especially Mega Ball. The momentum's fine. I will. I mean, you got three offensive threats spamming it, and so that's fine. I mean, the speed tiers, man, we've not even touched on speed tiers yet.
it's brutal.
It's 119, which is like you'd love to see better as your fastest mod, and then that's the only mod above 100. And Sam loves talking about the Pixie speed tier, so I'll just give it to him.
Okay, so like, why are you letting every single Pixie Speeds your Pokemon outspeed every single Pokemon on your team except for Roaring Moon? There's so many Pokemon with 100 speed, and they're just gonna go turbo on your team. I guess Darm is running Scarf every week, which is fine,
And
but then
Urshifu.
yeah, but you're getting outsped by like these brutal Terra Captains that have 100 speed that are suddenly just these adaptability murderers with Scarf and Terra. A Typhlosion, for example, is going to go turbo against this team.
There's a Chansey.
Yeah, there's a Chansey. And Typhlosion has 83 attack and is gonna bring a physical move
I
because the
tried telling
person
you, you wouldn't
knows
listen
there's
to
a
me.
Chansey.
All right,
Anyway,
that's the 3 minutes. Let's move on. It
yeah.
also for as many good in terms of point price for as many expensive mons on there, it just doesn't feel powerful because you're if you have a defensive wall or Will-O-Wisp, you really don't have to prep that much for him. You just spam Will-O-Wisp, and all
Mm,
threats are immediately eliminated.
yeah. All right,
All right,
next person.
all right. This is
Lilith, the goat, such a kind person, and we're about to tear her draft up a little bit. Sorry, Lilith.
this is Sand with a random ass Mega Charizard on it.
It does have a random ass Mega Charizard. So to be honest, if this Mega Charizard were like any other good Mega, I would have really liked this team. If this were like a Mega Charizard X, it would have paired even better with the Excadrill. Uh, yeah, those are my thoughts on the Mega Charizard.
Yeah, wrong Mega Charizard. Wrong Mega Charizard.
Yeah.
In terms of, I don't know. I mean, that
Yeah.
Mega
Well,
Charizard is really tripping up all of the things I want to say about Sand
yeah.
because it's very
As a
situational.
sand team, this is like a really solid sand
It
team,
is
by the
'cause
way. It,
I hate weather, but if it, especially if your team can't perform outside weather, and I feel like this team can, and that's what I like
this
about
team
it.
can't. Ferrothorn Finny is a fantastic core. Dracozolt and Excadrill are good Sand Force users, or Sand Rush users, because they don't have to bring Sand Rush to be successful. You can run Hustle Dracozolt some weeks. You can run Mold Breaker Excadrill some weeks. This draft doesn't have to bring Hippowdon to be successful. I really like the Azelf on this team. I think there's a lot of good going for it. I just, please trade your Mega Charizard.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean that's pretty much my
yeah.
thoughts. I do like. I think my favorite picks are the months like outside the standard ones, like Azelf, Miss Mag, even Mousehold. I think if you don't prep for a Mousehold, you there's a good chance you lose to it. So it does
Yeah,
force in a little bit more prep.
The Terra Captains can be successful. I wish there were more Pokemon that liked to run knockoff on the team to support the Mousehold. Otherwise, it's going to get obliterated by Rocky Helmet. And you don't really want to bring pads on your Mousehold. You want to bring Wide Lens, or if you're crazy, Silk Scarf.
Or
Um,
if you're even crazier, Banded.
yeah, if you're even crazier, Bandit. But I like Tidy Up too much to go Bandit.
Yeah, I do too. And then there's the Eldegoss, which for some reason I do really like. I mean,
Yeah, random Eldegoss. I will say this team supports Zard Y in a funny way, just with double spinners, a good defogger, and then mouse holds tidy up. That's like a decent amount of support for it on the spin side.
I is there Blossom? I would have loved to see a Blossom over an Eldegoss just so Sun can work like maybe 1 week if
Yeah,
there's no
the thing
grass
about Zard
resist.
Y is that obviously it can't hold Heat Rock, right? So it's not like you're not building a Sun team when you have Zard Y, but you want to have one Chlorophyll mon that can come in after Zard Y and clean the rest of the game after Zard Y breaks.
Hmm.
Zard Y is not a sweeper, it's a breaker, and having a good Chlorophyll sweeper come in after it can be really good.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's
that's our
about
thoughts
all.
on Lilith. Hi,
Yeah,
Lilith. Hope you have a good season.
yeah. Woo Lilith. All my homies love Lilith. All right. Next up, we got this.
Kimga. Is this supposed to be king? Or is it
Uh,
actually
I
King?
I would assume it's supposed to be King. That's how I've been pronouncing it.
Okay.
So I hope I'm right.
Anyway, this is a mono trick room with a Palafin.
God, I fucking hate Trick Room. So this is a little biased, but um, fuck Trick Room. Like I get the idea. You get an Ursaluna. Hatterene's a very good mon here as well. But I just would have loved to see patching up the speed tiers and filling in different holes than just going stack Taka and then
Yeah.
some random ass mons like Noivern and
So
Tangela.
if you showed me the core of Blood Moon Luna, Palafin Hero, Hatterene, and Iron Moth, I would say it's an incredible team. It has Trick Room as a feature with Hatterene in Blood Moon that you don't have to bring every week. And then it has this amazing core of Blood Moon, Hero, and Iron Moth that just works out so well together. Blood Moon and Palafin Hero murder everything that is in a bulky grass. Moth comes in, kills those grasses. Hatterene pairs well with the group. Uh, Everything else in this draft I don't like.
I just feel like it's a lot of mid. I love Terra
Yeah.
Stack Attack and it can, um, no pun intended, stack up quickly and just steamroll sometimes. But like, I just don't love it enough. I don't feel like it checks enough boxes
Mhm.
to be brought outside of Trick Room that often. Which, if you bring Trick Room every week, then it's fine. But I have a bad feeling that you're not going to because there's no such thing like a terrain extender or a weather rock for Trick Room. It's just 4 turns. You spend one of them setting up Trick Room.
Yep. Protect is going to go crazy against this team.
I will have
Going to be
loved to
ready
see
with the setup when they
more.
do.
Yeah, I would have loved to see more hazard setters with the Annihilate, but I feel like you just grabbed Annihilate because it's a good mon, filled a ghost and a fighting type. It was just there in the 5th round, like insane value. But you could, I feel like you could have easily patched it up with another Stealth Rock mon after Annihilate.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my sense on the draft. I kind of wish that Rotom Frost was a Terra Cap. I don't really like it by itself.
Yeah, I would
Um,
have loved to see a Rotom fan if it was still available, which I don't think it was, but could Terra Captain with Stack Attacker, whereas Rotom Frost couldn't. I would have loved to see a Terra Hatcherin, honestly. Like I get Terra Stack Attack is cool, but Hatterene would be better out just in total, like outside
Hatterene's
Trick
just
Room.
generally better. You don't need Trick Room for Hatterene to be successful. You kind of need it for Stack Attack to do anything.
Yeah. Um and your Wishpaster, Mega Auto. Love that guy. But it's just a
It's
Wishmont. Doesn't even get past.
yeah.
Alright.
Anyway, let's
We'll
move
move
on.
on. The second King Gambit team name in a row. We have
Mhm.
God Dialga Palkia, aka GDP, and the Supreme Gambits, rocking the Iron Valiant King Gambit Ogre Pond Water OU core with a Mega Charizard X.
Yeah, what a demon top four. And then this draft also has six other Pokemon. Don't look at them. Just look at the top four, and it looks really cool. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Th-
those are my thoughts on this draft.
yeah, so this is a team where you have your top four, obviously, and then it's a shit ton of role players. If you watch the NBA, think of, the super teams like the Golden State Warriors, the Big Three Heat, where you got your three to four superstars, and then just a bunch of guys that do one thing or two things, but they do it kind of
Yeah.
well. That's literally what
These
this team
role
is.
players are the role players from the 2007 Cavaliers because these role players aren't even good at their roles.
Hey, Diancie
Okay,
and Rodham,
let me.
I'm big
No,
fan
no,
of
no,
those
no,
two.
no. Let me talk about this Diancie. Diancie with Terra is so broken, and you left it on the table unterra so that you could Terra a Ditto. What? Why? Ditto was so easy to counter if you know what you're doing. Diancie is so much better. Diancie is so versatile. Terra fighting Diancie can solo win games. It's just a really good Pokemon. It has access to Terra and isn't just one shot by Steel move. And you neglect it and you leave this Diancie out to be a really mediocre stealth rocker instead of a demon threat. And what are you getting in return? Terra on a Pokemon where you don't even know what Pokemon it's going to be from turn to turn. Blows my mind. Anyway.
Yeah. Now, I think the biggest problem with this team for me is the momentum. It's literally going to be you turn Ogerpon, which doesn't even like to run half the games. It likes to be a setup sweeper
Yeah.
most games. And then it's
Mhm.
Rotom Fan, which to be fair, it's always going to be running it. But are you going to run Rotom Fan every single week? I feel
Yeah.
like you don't
I
because you
will
have so many
say,
role players.
Wellspring doesn't mind being supportive as much as like
It
a Hearthflame
yeah it
does.
it doesn't
Hearthflame
as
hates being supportive.
it doesn't be, and it also benefits from having that luxury due to the top four being demons. You can afford to run
Mhm.
Ogerpon with like spikes, U turn, or a more defensive set.
Mhm.
I hate Nidoking. It
Nidoking is
checks
so fake for how
boxes.
many points it
It
is.
checks boxes, right? You need a good ground. You need a good
Mhm.
poison, grounded poison, arguably. I just don't think it does either of those well enough because the speed is so mediocre.
Yeah. I've always been a bit of a Nidoking hater for how expensive it is.
Me too.
And then I'm a huge Cryo fan. I think it's value for how many points it is. This guy's going to come in, he's going to bring boots every week, and that's fine. And he's going to get the hazards off the table, and then he's going to freeze dry and murder something. And that's all he really needs to do. Cryo's a
Uh,
good pick in this draft. Spidops is fine. Crocolore, I think, is kind of bad without Terra. That
I
sums up my
mean,
thoughts on it.
what other 2 point are you gonna get there? Are you gonna go Carkol, which is good?
Yeah,
Carkol and Bug
Carcoal's
were the
much
two
better than
best.
Crocolore without
Yeah,
Terra.
and then you have a Spiral Eraser Charge Bugs not needed.
Mm.
But yeah, my
Yeah,
biggest gripe.
Crocolore is only a Terra Pokemon.
Yeah,
If you aren't using Terra on Crocolore, it's not even a real Pokemon. This should have been a Carkol.
I mean, yeah, I just like I said, the main points for me um, are momentum and then the speed tiers, which aren't even like that bad because Zard and Ogrebon can get to +1 pretty easily, and then Val can just carry booster energy. Nidoking's a good
Hmm.
Scarf Mon. King Gambit is, if you think about it, can have infinite speed.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
Sucker Punch.
Yes, which if you're good enough, you just win those, but
Yeah.
it's tough,
Anyway,
especially in draft.
I think we move on. GDP, for the love
Yep.
of God, please. Oh my gosh, change your Terra Captains. Ditto is so useless.
I
Please
think
change
I
it to
think
Diancie.
it's worth knowing. I think Ditto and Diancie are both 8 points, but even if Diancie was 10, Rotom Fan is 5, so you can tear it
Yep,
anyways. All right, so
change
we
Terra Captain.
have.
Okay.
You
Nate.
want to talk about this top three?
Oh my God. Okay, I'm not as big on Skyman as you are, but Mega Diancie, Zama Crowned, mwah. perfection. These two go so well together. I love them so much together. They're so good. Now let's talk about why Skyman should be a 17 pointer. This is the most overpriced Pokemon of the draft.
I hope you know
Overt Cloak is in the game.
I hope you know Skyman about brought his game back today because it got 5 or 6 air slash flinches in a row. So yeah, I mean, the thing with Covert Cloak is like I get the argument, right? So there's a lot of good steel types like an Iron Treads, like a Melmetal that would rather have AV than a cloak. So if you switch into
Yeah,
resisted move because their SPDF is so low, there's a lot of steals low SPDF. But I get it. I get it.
I mean, like, I'm not saying Skyman's a bad Pokemon. It's
It's
just
just
not a
not a
21
21
pointer.
pointer. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Hey, you had some pretty good Zama experience today.
Yeah, this Sama Pokemon is just insanely Giga Turbo broken. I've lost to it, I've swept with it, I've used it to insane effect, both as just a really offensive Pokemon and a BDIP sweeper. Um, I think that as for the Terra Captains, the Rabombi I don't like as much as I do the Sigilif. I feel like the Sigilif is gonna go crazy. Tinted Lens plus Terra is something I'm a huge fan of.
I get the Rabami pick because it can tear a ghost. It can be a Quiver Dance sweeper, but it's like a 95 special attack. It's not bulky at all to get multiple Quiver Dances up. Like you can slap a sash on it, but then priority
Yeah.
exists, and
Uh,
it's not hard enough to one shot a bunch of stuff without a +2. So
yeah,
I think Sigilif
I would have
is
rather
gonna
seen a
come.
Palisand. I much rather would have seen a Palisand, I think.
And then, if I remember
After
correctly,
Terra.
Sigilif is like 6, so you couldn't tear a Gudra or Umbreon with it. But I love both those
Yeah,
two
yeah,
as a
yeah.
Terramon.
Yeah, if you could have Terra'd the Goodra with the Sigilif, then do that. I don't think you could have. Palisand would go a lot harder than Rabombi with Terra, in my opinion. Water Compaction is actually a pretty nutso ability if you aren't weak to water.
Yeah, it is, especially with how many bulk. Considering most teams have a bulky water,
Mhm.
if you could tear it out of that weakness and just get like, was it a +2 defense,
Yeah.
and then you just shore up afterwards.
Yeah, and this thing learns Body Press, right?
Um, I'm not completely sure. I would imagine so,
I
but I
don't
cannot
remember.
confirm. I think Blastoise is a
Anyway,
really good water type on this team.
yeah,
I, th-
Blastoise is gonna be really strong as a support mon.
Round four is a
I
little
don't know how
early for me,
often.
though.
Yeah, I don't know how often Illumise is gonna come, but it kind of does its thing. It might do well in a game or two.
I want to say it's 1 point. So you get the mascot pick and a bringable 1 pointer.
Yeah, it's fine. Overall, I really like the team. I think Skyman's a little overrated, but I think this is a strong team. I'm a fan of it. This team is where I start to I kind of like the teams a little more, starting with this one.
Yeah.
I would play this.
Yes, a lot of the teams from here on out are interchangeable, at least till you get to the very tippy top, I think.
Yeah,
But a lot of the teams here in the middle, you could switch one over the other. I wouldn't bat an eye. I think the top three are good enough to. It's going to carry you to a couple games at least.
yeah.
Um,
I think Nate to fourth place are drafts that I would be like kind of satisfied playing, and then the top three are drafts I would be very happy to use.
yes, I do wish. Again, this is a little caveat, but I wish you had more ringable momentum because I don't think Rabambi is ever clicking U turn. That Illumise may or may not come more than twice a season, and then same thing with the situation regarding removal, but Blastoise is good enough to be your only
Yeah.
removal.
My argument with little removal is that this team has so many sitters that you barely care.
Yep, and
A
Mega
lot of
Diancie
the
is like
goal of
1/4 of a remover.
yeah, but if you have so many Pokemon whose job is just to sit and win while sitting, if there's not a lot of momentum, you don't need a lot of hazard removal, right?
That's fair.
Because your mon is coming in, it's blowing stuff up, and then it's dying. And that's the way this team is meant to be played, is a lot of sitting, a lot of wish passing.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like I get it. I would love to see a secondary remover because you have a
Yeah.
Shaman Sky and a Sigalith and even a Rabombi if you dare to set up that would enjoy not having to bring heavy duty boots.
Yeah. Anyway, we move.
Coach Swick now.
Mm,
Yeah,
man, this
so
is
Spectrier and then
oh
a
my god,
great dark
it's
type breaker.
Spectrier.
Oh, uh, same
It's
difference.
pronounced Spectrier.
Ghost
Anyway,
Horse.
uh,
Ghost Horse.
this team is mono veil offense.
It's an
It's
OU ladder
crazy.
team.
Why are there 5 setup sweepers on my screen?
It's a good
But
question.
also, it's kind of badass.
It is. I really do like this team. I think it's going to be super fun to use.
Just set up veil and sweep
This is
whatever you're feeling that day.
honestly, honestly, this is a very JSauce esque team.
Just threats the team.
Yes,
Yeah, I like this
literally.
Terra Flygon a
I
lot.
do too. And then you get a pair it with Terra Linoon under screens.
Yeah, Terra Ice Flygon in snow is going to be really funny. Someone's going to lose a game because they click an ice move on Flygon and it goes Terra Ice and takes 2 damage and gets a free DD up.
Yeah, there's a lot of good Flygon types. Obviously, you have ice in the snow, but I like Terra Fire, Steel. Obviously, Steel's very good. And even you could run Terra
Mhm.
Normal, Throat Spray, Boom Burst, one or two matchups. It's gonna nuke something. I I do wish you
Yeah,
had something other than Mega Gallade as your fighting type because Spectrier does not appreciate taking a dark or a ghost type attack, and neither does Mega Gallade. I would love to see an Urshifu here, Urshifu single, but I get Mega Gallade. Megas are back. Everyone loves them. Um, they've not been around in a while. You want to use them.
yeah. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to use this draft, and shout out to the Linoon. It's going to win some games for sure.
Oh yeah, and then on the other side, we talk about all the offense. There's an Empoleon and Mandibuzz, which
Mhm.
can very easily just be you bring those two week by week, and they can just make a very good pivoting defensive core to get your threats in.
Yep.
And then yeah, I do like the speed tiers. I wish you had something in the 90s, and then but other than that, it's fine.
The triple 100s is funny, but I
I've
like the
used it
130,
before.
110, 109.
Yeah, I've used triple hundreds. It's really not that bad because
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, it's not great here because all of the mons really do want to be offensive. Like my triple hundred last year was like a Salamence, a Tentacruel, and something else, where only like one of them cared to be offensive most of the time or run speed at all. But it's fine. There's a random ass Skomaloa that just sets up rocks and then clicks explosion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean it's good.
Let's move on.
All right. Oh boy, this is
Dino Nuggets.
this is another offense the team, but it's not setup spam. There's just not a lot of defensive pivoting. It's offensive mon after offensive mon.
Mm. Let's see. I like this Zera Aura Zapdos Galar, although I hate Zera Aura as a first pick. That's kind of funky. But it
Yeah,
does pair well with the Zapdos.
honestly, just switch Iron Bundle. Just put Iron Bundle in the front. Move the other two down. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, Bundle's going to be pretty good on this team. It's going to lose a game because it misses Hydro Pumps,
It already
though.
did. It already did
Oh,
tonight.
really? Based.
Yeah,
Yeah,
first Hydro
nice.
Pump the season missed.
Huge. So yeah, I hate this Pokemon, but I mean, it's good. I just hate it.
I have a
I really
love hate
like Garchomp
relationship
plus
with it.
Scizor.
I,
Garchomp plus Scizor, Tail as old as time. They go so well together. Garchomp's going to be
literally,
coming in on the fire moves.
Scizor comes in on the ice and the fairy. You know
Yep.
how it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And then Florges, I actually do like as a fairy type next to those two.
Yeah.
Um,
I also
I
like that you've got a tank chomp here that's probably going to be running max defense tank chomp most weeks, considering how offensive the rest of the team is. That's a Pokemon that really, really likes a Wish Passer because he doesn't have a recovery move of his own.
and then Scizor, like Roos is fine some matchups, but it doesn't want to run it every week. And having Floor just being able to wish pass into your Garchomp or your Scizor, I think is really good.
Mhm.
And then you want to get into the latter half of the team. Well, really, everything
Yeah,
except for the Rattata.
yeah, Skuntank's fine. The two Terra captains here, Serena and Mantine. I am pretty neutral on Serena. The one that I'm actually most excited about here is the Mantine. I think it's going to go pretty crazy on this team. The type of Pokemon that I think is actually only able to be successful with Terra is what I love about low tier Terra captains. And I think it's going to go hard. There's a Pokemon that doesn't really need rain to be successful. It can just run Water Absorb. Maybe you'll even go like Terra Fire with Water Absorb one day, and
Beat
you're going to
your.
ruin someone's day.
I was gonna say because I've prepped for it with a quag. I was just gonna say the best Iron Bundle counter in the game, but you have an Iron Bundle, so
Yeah.
point taken away. But yeah, I do like the
Terra Ground
Mantine
is.
because yeah, Terra Ground's good. I just like the Mantine in general because you have a Garchomp and a Zeraora, and so
Mhm.
even if it wasn't Terra, I think Mantine could be fine here because it's a bulky water. Because Iron Bundle it has like zero bulk, especially, and Mantine's got 140. It can remove. It can just status stuff
Mhm.
with Scald and Toxic, Roost. It's a very good Gloomon here.
Yeah, it's a nightmare for special teams.
It is. It
Teams that don't have
is.
many good physical attackers are going to cry against this team.
And then yes, Skuntank is fine, as you know. It's a very 7 point mon. Like you're not going to get a ton of more value out of it, but you're also
Mhm.
not going to get very many less either. Like you know what you're getting out of Skuntank.
Yeah, some good knockoffers. Status is a little light, other than toxic, but it's Nat Dex. Everything gets toxic. I'm mostly talking about Willow and T-Wave are light. All you have is T-Wave from Zeraora who doesn't love clicking it. Other than the status stuff, I mean, I'm pretty happy with all of it.
Yeah,
Really good momentum.
I
Really
wish you had a.
fantastic
I
momentum.
wish with Florgus, I wish you had a better sitter, like a better true
Hmm.
tank. But Garchomp can just run that most weeks. It's fine. I do think
Yeah.
Rattata it might get one really funny trade this season, but it's just there's a 1 pointer. You just have to
Yeah.
keep up rocks or have a status move for it because if you're running 24 attacking moves, then you just trade to Rattata.
Yep. I would have maybe liked to see one good hazard setter other than Chomp. That's a little sad.
Yeah,
That
Skuntank just sets up T spikes, but it doesn't even want to do that most weeks.
yeah, I think definitely maybe could have invested in a hazard setter from your one pointer instead of using it on a meme Pokemon. There's actual one pointers that do have stealth rocks, so I might have looked at that.
Yeah, you could also technically argue for like a Dewpider or a Surskit that can set up webs just so
Mm,
Zeraora and Iron Bundle can run more um, actual breaking sets, and then even
yeah.
Zapdos can run a band set or two.
But other than that, it's a demon team,
It
and
really is. This is going to be super
we do some good
intimidating to
stuff.
prep for.
All right, let's move on.
All right, North Shore Kings and the boy Crook, who's actually starting his own YouTube channel. I might and
Oh,
Twitch, I
nice.
believe. I might have to link that in the video, but he did his own
Yeah, that's
team
cool.
recap.
Yeah. So looking at the team right away, I notice two really nice partners for Megalopony. Necrozma is going to help her out a lot, and
Mhm.
Iron Treads is going to help her off a lot. These guys are going to knock off Rocky Helmets. They're going to be setting Stealth Rocks so that she can sweep. And they're going to be doing a lot of good. The Overquill supports her really well also. I'm just really a fan of how this team synergizes around Megalopony. Sinistra's coming in to take the fighting hits that she doesn't want to take. All sorts of good stuff going over here with the Lop.
Yeah, I'm just a huge fan of all of the defensive mons just being able to make sure that Megalopony and Amorous don't die too quickly. Specifically, the three after Enamorous, Rotom Wash, Iron Tread, Sinistcha, I'm a huge fan of. I would have loved to see another offensive threat. Like the Crossbow can be that, but yeah, it's
Mhm.
set up which you don't really. You have an okay amount set up, but I would have loved to see it break a little bit more. But I feel like
Mhm.
due to knockoff and stealth rock, it's going to be relegated to a bit of a support set. That's really my only gripe. I mean, it can just if Lopunny or a Nam goes down early, it could be a little hard to win without taking 120 turns.
Yeah, I do kind of wish that maybe Snorlax was like another strong pivoter.
Staraptor, even if you have an Nam, it's.
Yeah,
But I guess do you really need another normal type? It's just like
yeah, you don't need another normal type anyway. It just could have been really anything.
is
Snorlax is probably
there?
the weak point of this
Yeah,
team, in my opinion.
yeah. Especially no Terra allowed. Like it got relegated to 11, so it couldn't Terra. It's
Mm.
just there. It's
Sinistcha and Turtonator, pretty cool Terra captains, though.
yeah. We're both Sinistra guys, but I'm a Turk
Mm.
guy, and you didn't have a fire, didn't have a dragon, so maybe you could have argued it likes it type. But Terra Turtonator can check almost every single physical attacker in the game, just because the high defense and a Will-O-Wisp, and it also has stuff like Rapid Spin, um, just other really good support moves that you wouldn't think a 4 pointer to have.
Mm.
I think Sinistra does come most weeks, but Turtonator is a really good secondary one. In addition to having 1 to 2 matchups a season where Shell Smash White Herb can just win you a game.
Yep. Anyway,
Move on.
anything else you want to say about this drop? Or are you good to go?
Speed tiers. 135 to 106 is a feels bad moment.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that should have also been the thing that
Yeah.
Snorlax spot would be occupied by is a
hmm
decent midway speed tier.
And also one fairy resist, which the team's not really inherently weak to fairy. It's just the mega lot, but stuff like Iron Valiant can just run specs and break every single mon on this team.
Anyway, we move on.
All right. Which,
Ultra Pro.
yeah, the God, I hate this team, or I'd hate facing it rather. I like the team,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
really
demon
annoying to
time.
play against. The Terra Captains, I believe, were Tentacruel and Diplin,
Yes, Tentacruel and
which
Diplin.
I would have rather seen a Raichu.
You want to
This
go on the
team
rant, or do you want to
already,
save it?
I can go on the rant. So, I'll go on my little Raichu spiel, and then you can go on your Tentacruel spiel.
All right.
So, the thing that makes Terra Raichu superior to Terra Tentacruel, in my opinion, is that Tentacruel is already very pressured to fulfill a lot of roles on this team. And they're roles that its type is so important in fulfilling. It's your ice switch in, it's your rapid spinner. It really wants to be a bulky water. I don't know what it's going to be changing into that's relevant. Whereas with Raichu, you gain so many offensive options. You can run special, Terra Water with Surf and Lightning Rod, such a strong set. You can run like this mini Lucario kind of vibe with Terra Normal E speed that does well. It's just a much more versatile Terra Captain. I think it's a lot stronger than Tentacruel, and Tentacruel wants to be its type, and it's already overworked as is, so you don't need it to be doing weird Terra shenanigans.
Yeah, I'll just be straight up. I don't think Tentacruel is a good 10 pointer. Even with Terra, I brought that boy. It was my grounded poison and my bulky war. I brought that boy to 2 games, and one of them was literally just so I don't lose to Enamorous. Like it looks
Mm-hmm.
good on paper, but there's so many mons, especially on this team specifically, where you'd rather bring it over because it fills so many roles. Like the first 6 there, you want to bring most weeks, and then you have a Diplin, a Raichu, and an Avalar that can come any given week. And Tentacruel is kind of just there. Like, it wants to be the
Mm-hmm.
bulky water and the poison. Now, T Spikes don't inherently hurt this team because you have a Steel, 2 Flyings, but Arcanine and Screamtail don't want to take up toxic at all. Even Urshifu. And then you need a bulky water. I think it's one of the draft staples. I think Tentacruel can get away with being the bulky water. And even the predominant rapid spinner. I just question how much you bring it and what is it going to tear it to because it loves both its
Hmm.
typings, like you mentioned.
Now, the things that I love about this draft are its top four plus Screamtail.
Yes, yes,
Urshifu single and Golden is a beautiful pair. Add Gliscor in, which is another beautiful pair with Golden. These top four are the definition of our synergy category.
yes,
These three go so well together, and they're supported equally well by Mega Aerodactyl, who is all the speed that you will ever need. It's so good at what it does, and it's very well supported by, and I hate to say it, this Tentacruel that you're really hating on. Tentacruel is going to be the spin support for the Mega Aerodactyl. It's going to come in on these ice moves that are being targeted at Gliscor and Aerodactyl. And I actually think Tentacruel fits pretty well with this team.
yeah,
It's
it
just with
does.
how overworked it is, I don't like it being the Terra
I
Captain.
would have loved to see your water and your poison be split here.
Mhm.
Like, I get the idea. I just think you need. It's really is the backbone of a lot of stuff, and I will just love to see two Pokemon's to F1.
Mhm. Anyway, we can move on. Good team
I
overall.
did, I
Change your
did
Terra
want,
Captain.
I did want to touch on the speed tiers a little bit. They look fine. Until you realize that Raichu without Terra is not going to come every game. Screamtail doesn't inherently love to be max speed every week, and Tentacruel doesn't
Mhm.
run to love speed at all, or doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
doesn't
it doesn't
love to
like
run speed.
being. Yeah. You're still going to be outsped by Pixies for most of your team, and that kind of
Yeah,
is what it is. Urshifu is going to be forced to be Scarf maybe more games than it would like to.
yeah. It also has Trailblaze now, which is worth noting. Golden Go probably is going to
Yeah,
be running a
but
lot more Scarf than you like, but it does have Trick, so it can kind of trick out of that. It's a fine team. It really
mhm.
is very annoying to prep and play against, which is one of the things I like. Good support.
Mhm.
I believe this starts in the top five. Next up, I think Ultra Pro Star
Yeah.
was six. So get into the top five. We
Uh,
have the
yes.
delightful
So
Divines.
Adrian. Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm a
Okay.
notorious Coco
Um.
hater, but
Yeah, I'm gonna
it's
start
kind of
with my big
nice.
criticism of the way that Coco Sneasler is so overhyped. So this was a ladder trend. It was never intended to be a draft league thing. The idea behind Coco Sneasler was that you just fit in all these really insane paradox Pokemon, and then Sneasler is like your random terrain win con. But if you're building around Sneasler, draft a Rillaboom instead. It's so much better with Sneasler. You can't proc Dire Claw sleep in electric terrain.
Hell, I would love to see
Anyway,
a Lele on this
so
team too. I think it goes Rillaboom. I think it goes grassy terrain, psychic terrain.
then Psychic.
Yep. Then
Yeah, then
electric.
Electric
Then
third. And then if you
Misty.
draft Fenny with Sneasler, you are turbo trolling.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. Tapu Koko is good by itself. Sneasler also good, also fine without being an emergent set.
Yeah,
Uh,
and there is the Jugulus that is going to go crazy in
yes,
electric terrain.
just gotta hit a hurricane, baby.
Yeah.
70% and pray.
Yeah, I actually kind of hate Jugulus as a Pokemon. It's kind of an agent of chaos between Dark Pulse flinches and Hurricane. It's just the type of Pokemon that I hate using and playing against.
It's torn, but like half price,
Yeah,
and
and it
can't do
relies
the
on
support
flinches
stuff. Yeah,
in
can't do the
addition to
support
missing
stuff.
Hurricanes. Yeah. It's just a
I
very chaotic Pokemon.
I like the double levitate core weirdly enough. I don't like that they're both psychic types. I guess the
Yeah.
Rotoms do double up on electric type, which I don't think you like really care about because Tapu Koko, weak to ground Rotom, levitate.
Hmm.
But I feel like there's a different levitating mod that just not coming off the top of my head. That's not a psychic or electric would fit
Something that's not
nicely here.
Bronzong. Yeah, I think. I would have preferred a different steel in general rather than a different levitator. Um, but
Why would
I've
Orthworm
used
go a
bronze
little
lung
crazy?
success. Ooh, earthworm would have been sick. But
Terra Captain.
yeah, I mean, I I like Gladios. Gladios is gonna go hard. Samurott Hosui is fine on this team. It gets important spikes up to make sure that Sneasler can sweep. Uh, Barry goes a little turbo against this team, I will say.
Yeah, Bronzong does not love to be taking repeated
Yeah,
damage. So you just hit it with a fairy move. If it resists so well, switch out, keep doing that. Eventually, that fairy type's going to win.
yeah. A strong fairy is gonna really tear through this draft if you aren't careful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you don't want to bring bronze along every week.
The,
So,
the Pyroar
yeah.
is probably going to tear out of its fairy weakness or fairy resist, anyways.
Mhm. The Porygon 2 is a little weird and off theme. It's a type of Pokemon that wants to thrive in Trick Room, and this is a super fast team. I guess it's going to be like your bulky can teleport, so it's going to pivot, but I don't love it. And then Leafeon is interesting. I don't love Leafeon without Terra either.
I think it's fine. It's a 3 pointer. It can be.
Yeah.
It technically has Wish Pass, which um, is like the only one that's there, which may be a mistake because if I remember correctly, Latios gets Wish, so I feel like Latios should, but I'm not sure the actual game mechanics on it.
Um, it- yeah, I don't think it does. But Latias has a much more supportive move pool.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't even matter if Latios gets it. If we're being honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't use it, but yeah, it doesn't. Anyway, the reason that we put this top five, despite our complaints about it, is the offense on this
Hmm.
team does go crazy. Jugulus is going to murder so many things. Sneasler is going to be maybe kill leader on this team. Um, maybe a top three kill leader in the entire league. It's going to tear through people. And then, Latios is Latios. He's going to get his.
Yeah, the top four immaculate, like very well put together and hard for teams to switch into. Then you got the defensive core like Bronzong, Donphan, Ward two. I would have loved to see more momentum personally because
Mhm.
Jugs and Sneasler would really love to just stay in and clean most weeks,
Yeah.
especially the Coco. But it's fine. The team's very offensive enough. I mean, Samurot's not bringing flip turn, but like it's fine. It's a really good offensive team with low tier pivots. Another JSauce esque team in that regard. I think you just covered every single base well. All the boxes were checked in my book.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Anyway,
you want to move
move
on?
on to Wish.
Yeah,
So,
Chin
Chien-Pao
Pao Zapdos, huh?
Zapdos. It's pretty tried and true. The only pairing that I see more often with Chien-Pao than this is, again, Galarian Slowking and Slowking itself. Zapdos is probably the third most common Chien-Pao partner, and it's really good. It takes the fighting moves, it spreads para. It's just a really good support for Chien-Pao.
If only it wasn't so lame.
Yeah, it's kind of boring,
And then you have a
but it's
Clefable,
very
which is
strong.
also boring. If you don't mind
Yeah, this
sleeping through
team.
half the battle, if you don't want to
Yeah,
watch this team, it's really good. But if you want to watch it,
yeah. Also a random Aegislash, kind of boring. I mean, this team's like really. I wouldn't play it because it's not my style, but it's good at what it does. I think the SERP feels a little random. I would have liked something else in this superior slot. I think maybe go for a better momentum Pokemon, in my opinion. Your momentum's a little weak. You're relying on
Grocer.
Morgrem a lot more than I think you should with this draft. Morgrem might have to come like half your games.
Oh, you haven't been watching PEL, huh? Morgram comes half my games. I have a cracked ass team. Morgram has
Yeah,
came more than my Zamazenta, I'm fairly certain.
yeah. I mean, it's a good mod. Uh, Morgrem's gonna go crazy with your Como O. It's gonna
It,
set those screens, and you're gonna win with Clangoria's Soul.
I would have loved to see it rose rate, to be honest, instead of Cert, because yet while it
Yeah, I
doesn't
don't
get
like
momentum,
Sir.
you could just run random ass eject pack
Hmm.
some weeks. That get spikes, T
Yeah.
spikes, absorbs T spikes. The Terra captains are Delphox and Smeargle, by the way.
Yeah, Smeargle, it's whatever. I don't like it. I love the Delphox. That's going to be the primary Terra Captain that you're bringing, and it's going to go hard. It's just a really good Terra Captain. Shout out to
Yeah,
Pokegame.
uh, I love. I don't love all the mods drafted personally, but I can say that they're very strong and very good for
Yeah,
the
they've
most
got some
part.
demons.
And then you get two one pointers at the end, which great picks. Not only because are they good one pointers, they fit pretty much what you wanted in the team, anyways.
Yeah. Again, I think Serp is the fatal flaw in this draft. Switch it out, and I would
Yeah,
really like it.
Smear goal is also a very weak link, and
Yeah,
honestly, due to
actually,
some
no, please trade Smeargle and Serp for like a
yeah,
good 14 pointer.
um, and Terra Morgan honestly isn't even awful.
Yeah.
Due to the last three Pokemon existing, Smeargle, dogshit stats, Morgrem, and Frogadier is fine. I did decide to make the executive decision to pop up in the top right the average stats of his other, what is that, like 7, 8 Mons from Delphox all the way to Chinpao. And they do look a lot better, which I'm sure many people weren't looking at, but it is deceptively low.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
think I
speed
would
tiers
have
are fine.
Yeah, I would have loved to see one more immediate breaker. Like Delphox is fine at it. Como
Yeah.
can technically do it, but it really is just Chin Pao.
Mhm. Anyway, we move on.
Yeah, top three.
Oh my god, this team. It's just threats.
You want to talk about not the top three first because I think everyone knows what the top three do.
Yeah. The one that I really want to highlight in this draft is Slurpuff. Terra Slurpuff's kind of a demon. There are actually mons that were Terra banned in this draft that I think are significantly worse than Slurpuff. I think that it might be one of the best Terra captains in the entire draft.
And
It has
it,
belly drum sweeper sets. Yeah, it has belly drum sweeper sets. That's the primary set that you're going to be going is the citrus berry unburdened combo of belly drum. But even when you don't want to bring that, it can just be bulky with webs. It can do some annoying stuff. It can just be like your bulky fat fairy who is just useful. And yeah, I'm a huge Slurpuff fan in this draft. Zam feels a little awkward, but it fulfills a nice speed tier, so I don't hate it. I wish you had more good ways of getting it in than flip turn on Mega Blastoise and U-turn on Corv, but that might be enough to get you consistent opportunities with Zam. It's just a mon that can't switch into a single move ever.
yeah, I think my highlight mo of the draft is Mega Blastoise, which albeit I don't have a lot of experience using, I think it is very essential in this draft. No Shell
Mhm.
Smash, obviously, or else this thing would be a round one pick, I think. First Mega off the board. But
No, it would be 21 points,
yeah,
probably. The plus
78
one.
fast enough to where you can get a rapid spin off and outspeed most every team with that doesn't have a Scarfer. Like,
Yeah.
I believe Dragapult outspeeds it at a plus one, but you have a Dragapult. So it's the mods of those caliber, like a Reggie Electrode or a Regieleki, Zeraora, and Tinglu handles those. Shaman handles those
Mm.
anyways. I
Yeah,
will
this
love
thing's
to
gonna be
see
able to sweep after a rapid spin.
it will. 135 with Mega Launcher is deceptively powerful. Like 135 is fine, but you really don't realize how hard it hits until you get a Dark Pulse to the face. That
Mhm.
non-stab it does like 50. I wish
Also,
you had a
Water
better,
Pulse
yeah, Water Pulse.
is shockingly annoying. You feel the confusions. A confusion is actually so much more brutal than a burn sometimes, man.
Yes, I would have
Like I
loved to see a better fairy resist though, because it's Glimmet and Corviknight,
um
and your fire type
yeah.
doesn't resist it. You got two Dark Mons.
Yeah, Corv's fine for it. It's just that a lot of fairies know electric or fire moves, so
Yeah, at
you're
least
gonna have to
Corv
deal with
can
that.
recover it off, unlike Bronzong, I think we are talking about lately. Corv can actually shrug those off. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Decent with the
I
double
do
hazards, Limit plus Tinglu. Those
I do
hazards are
really
gonna
like.
go hard.
I think something we've actually not talked about actually in depth. It's just kind of there, the bottom right. I don't love the actual support capabilities of this team, especially if you go taunt and below. Alakazam
Yeah,
is the
zero
one running
knockers is
support.
really sad. Yeah.
Yeah,
Zero
Alakazam's never
knockers
running
is very
off.
sad. It's yeah, it's not using knockoff. So you effectively have zero knockers, which is probably the key weakness of this team. Maybe Shaman should have been a knocker, but
Maybe. I mean, like
yeah,
you have
and then
some
it's a
good.
little pivot light, but
Yeah.
I mean flip turn plus U-turn. That's
I,
three good mons that have momentum moves that don't mind clicking them.
yep.
Um, I think
I
that's enough on a
I
team
think
like this.
yeah, I think my big gripe is for one not having a speed tier in between 120 and 110. I think that's actually one of the biggest gaps in terms of most important speed tiers, in my
Mm,
opinion. Because obviously 100's fine, but then you have to speed tie the pixies or risk it at least. And then there's so many good mons that
mm,
are like 105, 106 in that range. You'd love to have a 110 here. And then as far as physical mons, like you have some mons with some good stats, like Shaman, Blastoise, even Ting Lu and Dragapult.
mhm,
There's no true physical breaker. Like Dragapult may have to be physical set more often than it wants to. Ting Lu may have to have a little more investment than it wants to. It's just stuff like that. I would have loved to see a great physical breaker and then have a Chi as a special breaker.
mhm. And I think
It-
we can move on from
yep.
there.
Top two. Top two.
Oh my God. Okay. So there's 10 Pokemon in this draft that I don't want any of you to look at. Just like ignore these 10 Pokemon. Okay. It- I was talking about this with my group chat with JSauce and my friend Phonytail, who's a Kanto player. The three of us were talking about some of these Pokemon. I talked about it again with another group chat. So I had about 7 people agree with me that there is no reason why Zamazenta Hero should be legal in this draft. This thing should have been like a 26 pointer. It is so far above the power level of every single other Pokemon in this draft by such a wide margin. This Pokemon, I think, is better than Dialga, which is probably the next worst Pokemon that didn't make it into this draft. And it's
That,
much better than Darkrai.
yep, Darkrai's the big one. I would argue that Zamazenta is better than Naganadel in draft, but I think that's a pretty hot take to be honest. But Zamazenta is just that guy. Like there's no debating around it. This Mon, for as good as it is, not taken number one. Cordyceps took it two, and then in the others it was picks four, five, and then seven, which feels weird to me. But I feel like a lot of
It's
the
stupid.
teams, yeah, there's so many good fighting types. It's like, do I really want to take one first overall? Well, if there's a Zama here on the board, the answer is yes. It's made for you.
Okay, so let's talk about the gap between Zama Hero and Zama C in draft. Because Zama C is actually better in ladder, but that's because they both did the same thing. They IDBP. That's it. It's iron pressing until the cows come home in ladder. In draft, you can do so much with Zama Hero because it doesn't have to hold that stupid rusty shield item. And you can run banded sets that hit like a truck. You can do so many cool things with Zama, and it's just so strong. Obviously, you can run sub Iron Press
Fling Big Nugget. I don't
with
even know if it gets fling, but that'd be
Crunch
pretty
or
fun.
Behemoth Bash. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then yeah, you have the banded sets with like close combat, Behemoth Bash, Crunch, filler move. You can even run like a Howl set if you want to.
Yeah, so that's 2 minutes past talking about Samazenta. Want to spend the other one talk about the other 10 months?
Yeah, there's like 10 other mons. They're fine. Hoopa and Typhlosion are both very good Terra captains. Probably the best combo of Terra captains in this entire draft.
Hmm.
Amala's like a fun little low pointer that's going to give you good hazard removal. Torn T is all the hazard removal that you honestly really need. I think Torn T is going to be in a very supportive role. It's going to be defog. It's going to be click and U-turn. And that's the main thing that it's going to contribute to this team because it's not going to hit a hurricane because it's Torn T.
Yeah, so I think the
Thoughts?
three mons to really focus on outside the Zama is the Torn, the Rillaboom, the Sylveon. All three have
Mhm.
momentum. They're your three main momentum mons. But Torn with Regen, they all support Zama pretty well. Rillaboom less than the other two because Sylveon can Wish Pass, obviously. And then Wish Pass is just such a good combo for like Goodra, Swampert, even Torn. It's just really good for the team. And Rillaboom, um,
Mhm.
imagine a Goodra Hizui that doesn't die to Earthquake.
Yeah.
And then a
This
Drapion, even.
Rillaboom Gudra, yeah. The Rillaboom Sylveon Gudra trio go so well together. I do have a little mini complaint in Swampert. When you draft Rillaboom, you want your ground type to be special or have high horsepower.
Yeah, which
And
I don't know if
you want to
Swampert gets high horsepower. I'm not quite sure. It,
I, let me check.
its
'Cause
special attacking
I
is fine. It's like what is it, 85, and loves to use Scald anyways. It's passable. It's just not ideal. Um, but it's not like you're
Oh, it
bringing.
does get okay, never mind.
Yeah,
It does get high horsepower.
yeah.
I didn't think it did. Okay, well that's fine then. You can click high horsepower on
It's
Swampert
a
and
little
feel okay about it.
susceptible to random ass grass moves just because of um
Yeah,
grassy.
if you're in
Sorry,
grassy terrain and they have like HP isn't legal in this, right?
correct. Nor is pursuit.
Yeah, so you aren't gonna get random HP grassed and just die. You're gonna know what the Pokemon that you're afraid of are. So I don't mind it.
Yeah, I don't
Um
either. It's just a lot of random mons get power whip for no reason.
yeah, but that was dying to Power Whip anyway. You don't need a
Fair
trust me, you
enough.
don't need to do grassy terrain to kill the Swampert with Power Whip.
But
Um
yeah, it's just a
and then
very
Drapion's
cracked
pretty good.
team. Yeah, Drapion is
I
a
like Drapion
nice,
as your grounded poison.
right?
My only complaint is this team has no hazards at all except for Swampert. But hey, Swampert's coming most weeks, and all it needs
Exactly.
to do is rocks and flip turn. And yeah,
I mean,
that's pretty much it for this
I
draft.
don't think the team really needs hazards. Like it'd be great because it likes to wear stuff
Yeah.
down for Azama or Rillaboom late game. But if you're playing those two late game, then not a lot of sashes are going to be intact
Yeah,
anyways.
don't worry. The +6 body press is killing everything with or without hazards. So,
Yeah. I will
yep.
say another gripe I had is just the actual status other than toxic. Because again, I had this doc set up for Pal deck, so toxic was more important. But it's Will Wisp and it's Thunderwave, and they're coming on your Terramons that want to be offensive. All right, so we've
I agree.
about doubled the time that we allotted for this originally. So let's just move
Yeah.
on to
So
number
we move
one.
on. Number one, Kuroko no Basket.
Yeah, so
Yeah. My favorite anime. Anyway, this is threats after threats after threats, the team, and they all synergize very well together. Talk about it, JSauce.
yeah, so Mega Scizor was the first Mega off the board in every single draft, and you pair it with a great ground type, which it loves to be with because it tanks ice moves. Now Landos were both on, but Great Tusk is a fine alternative. Um, then you have the amazing defensive core of Primarina, Salamence, Rotom Heat that play off of Mega Scizor and Great Tusk so well and are able to, Scizor, Primarina, and Rotom Heat at least, are able to pivot out into those threats and have a really easy momentum game to play. Then you got the Meowscarada, um, Grass type, Dark type, Spikes, Momentum, another
Mhm.
physical breaker, and then you got three just good monsters you can bring some week. that you don't really need.
Yeah, Hazard game might be a little lacking, but I don't mind it. You can run Meow, Hazard lead, you can run Stealth Rocks on Great Tusk if you have to. I might have liked to see one more good rocker. This team has two pretty interesting Terra captains in Espeon and Houndstone. I normally don't like Terra Houndstone if you don't have it in Sand. However, Fluffy's not bad. It's like a nice little ghost, and you're going to be tearing Espeon most weeks anyway.
Yeah, I just love to see a ghost because of how many good fightings there are. And yes, while you do have a Primarina and a Salamence, it's never a bad idea to have it. And then Houndstone can Terra to beat its dark weaknesses. It's a very good fairy and fighting merchant. Gets body press, gets will wisp.
Hmm.
It's just a very annoying 6 pointer.
Yeah, bro, I wouldn't even bring hazards against this team. Look at the Espeon, Great Tusk. Oh,
Literally.
no point.
The good thing about it too is you can run Sash more easily if you're not going to lead it on stuff like Grafii. Hell, even
Mhm.
Espeon Sash if you want to set up more. I do
Um,
think I'll just break the fourth wall against Kuroko's first league. I am a little bit worried about how versatile some of the mons are, which is usually a positive, but I think starting out it can definitely be a negative. I think sometimes you just want button mashers.
yeah, I call it getting dizzy, which is a team fight tactics term. If you overcomplicate, you can get pretty dizzy with this team pretty
Yes.
quickly. But
Um, Only
the mods
one
also
rock
all have simple
resist.
versions.
Yeah, they do. I wish you had another rock resist, but Great Tusk quad
Mhm.
resists, so it's fine.
Yeah,
And you don't see a
and you're
lot of
bringing it
good
every
rock
week.
types, anyways, right? It's like Terrakion, which I don't even think got drafted any of the divisions, which is sad. But there's Cleavor,
Yeah,
I guess,
I
but
mean,
there's just
rock
not
is the
enough.
worst type in the game, right?
Yeah, Rock
It's
and Bug
just,
are.
yeah. Well,
You're
bug,
mostly
you at
worried
least have to worry
about.
about U-turn.
Yeah.
With
Uh,
rock, you're just worried about stealth rocks, which, you can account for with
mhm. But yeah,
heavy duty
the
boots.
good news is the rock weakness. You only have two rock weak mon. They both love running HDB anyways, so it's
Yeah,
fine. I do like the Grafia here, to be completely honest.
it's okay. It's your grounded poison. It can do some interesting things. It's another Pokemon that you can get dizzy with pretty fast,
Yeah,
but
or you could just
I like
run
it.
like a LARP Sableye set, kind of, and you just run like Parting Shot
Yeah.
and Toxic and stuff.
1 week
Sword Stance,
against the
Acrobatic.
terrain guy. I want to see Electric Seed or any seed, depending on whatever terrain you're playing against. Grafii sweep with Unburden one time.
Mhm. I think it's best with grassy terrain. So if you go against that Rillaboom
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
Cordyceps, you
maybe.
can run to a little bit of
Yeah.
trouble.
Don't actually do that. But if you do, style points.
Well, I mean, it works in that matchup because
Yeah, it can.
it can.
If he brings
But
Rillaboom. Um, anyway, I feel
yeah,
pretty good about this draft. I like it a lot. I'd play it.
yeah, I would too. This is
And
a very JSauce team, to be honest. A little bulkier
yeah,
than what I usually draft, but between
I
the
think we
last
had
two
a
teams,
slight different
yeah.
opinion on who the favorite to win the whole league would be, though.
hmm I will say
I
between the
think,
last two, there was a big power spike to us at least. That those two were obviously the top two, just in terms of
yeah,
teams.
I think I'm gonna give my prediction. Dr. Cordyceps wins the league.
Yes, I've been talking to that guy. I think I agree with that, just because of how good the team is. Plus, he's got a learner mentality, which is absolutely huge in draft
Hmm.
league, and he just absorbs information, man. Once he finds his
Yeah,
footing, it's going to be hard to stop him.
Zombie
I
Hero should be the kill leader.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I can also see Wish winning, um, just because the
oh yeah,
team's so good. I can see a lot of people winning. Power rankings really don't matter. They're just for fun. Phonytail, who we touched on earlier a little bit, Last season got ranked number 15 out of 16, and then placed
He got
second in
promoted.
the league, then got to semis, and then promoted. So it really doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Hmm.
But yeah,
So
I
yeah,
think this is
take
our
this all
final
with a grain of
slide.
salt, but hopefully you had fun listening.
Yeah, hopefully you get a little bit of feedback. Play so you're able to play to your strengths, try to avoid your
Mhm.
weaknesses, maybe do something free agency. But yeah, like we mentioned earlier, Sam and I are both available on Discord a lot, willing to help, willing to give a little bit more in depth feedback, especially to those first few teams. We really only did the 3 minutes. As you get closer up, there's more to talk about, so you get more feedback naturally. But yeah, I mean, I think that's all. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's all. Just have fun. I hope you enjoyed the video and feel free to DM me. My opinions are always there for sharing. And please subscribe to me and JSauce and have a nice day, everyone.
All right, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Deuces.